Well, hello there. Welcome to SOLA's Talk Art. I'm Susan Kraft, and this is a production by the Society of Local Artists. It's a local nonprofit art group and based in the Silicon Valley Peninsula. Tonight we're going to talk to two artists that are women. This is Mariana Barnes and Xuan Ho, and they're going to tell us how art has changed their life and how their life has changed their art. And first we're going to start with Mariana Barnes. Mariana, hello.
Hello.
Now your name is actually Mariana Sanchez Barnes.
It's Mariana Suarez Barnes.
Suarez.
Yes.
I like that R really. I love the way you roar the R's. So it is Mariana Barnes,
Yeah,
correct? Mariana Barnes. And so now you're from Argentina.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
You're actually, your family, you're a genetic mix of the world.
Yes, a lot of different things. My grandfather went from Denmark to Argentina, and he took to it like a duck to water. He just loved it, and my mom actually says he never really talked about Denmark or spoke his own language because he was just an Argentine, you know.
Well, I met your mom the other night at a SOLA meeting, which is the third Thursdays of every month, and
yes.
she, except for her accent, she looks like she's from Denmark. Okay.
Yeah, even though she's also part Italian, so
Wow.
her other side of the family was Italian. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So here you are in America now. When you were a child, you were going back and forth because your father was a research physicist, and he came. Tell us the story.
Yeah, we used to come back and forth. The first time I was 2 years old. We came for 2 years to Berkeley.
To Berkeley. Your father was postdocing at Berkeley?
Yes, he had a Guggenheim Fellowship, actually, which is very prestigious. And
and of course, you remember all that research, and you were in the lab and
of
everything.
course, yeah.
And you said, no. Okay, so you were just a little child, preschool.
Yes, so I went to preschool with my brother, and until I was 4 years old, and then we went back, and I forgot all my English. And then we came back when I was 9 for 3 months, and then we also came back when I was 11 for 2 years.
2 years
and that's
again.
when English stuck finally.
Yeah, and you were smitten with well, you were in California again, right?
Yes, always in California.
And this time not in Berkeley though, you were in Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale.
So you did the whole peninsula thing, both sides of the bay, and you're very little. So it's still quite young, 9 to 11. Okay.
11 to 13.
11 to 13. Now, when you came here when you were 11, you already knew that you were in love with the arts.
Yes.
And you were, at that point, you were a pianist.
Yeah, I had started piano in Argentina and at the conservatory, and I just loved it. And then when I was here, we didn't really I didn't keep playing, but I
well,
kept playing
schedules get
afterwards.
disrupted.
Yeah.
I mean, when families move like that, it's very difficult to keep the schedules going exactly the way it was. Now,
I did other things like gymnastics and swimming that I really
here
loved.
or there?
Here.
Here. Okay.
And then I went back there and no more gymnastics. So it was sort of the
Now, you told this really interesting story about, sorry for interrupting,
Yes.
but you told this very interesting story to me the other day about when you were a child. I thought it was here. You went back and forth so much, I don't really remember, but your teacher asked you to draw some figures from a photograph, but she said, did not trace. Was that here?
Right. That was in Argentina.
It's in Argentina. And so tell the story.
Yeah, she asked us to take a picture of a magazine and not trace it. And so I started drawing it. Everybody was drawing. The boy in front of me saw my drawing and said, oh, well, that's amazing. And, you know, I thought
Did it?
was,
Okay, when everybody turned their drawings in.
So I turned it in, and the teacher said, you know, you traced this, so you're going to get a 0. And I said, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? I didn't do that.
I'm a good little girl. I don't do things
so
like
she said,
that.
okay, well, let's put it to a vote. Who thinks that that she traced it? And all of my friends, you know, raised their hands right away and said, well, if she says that she did it, she did it. All the boys were like, no, she didn't
Except
do
for that
it.
little boy in front of you who said...
And then the little boy in front of me saved me because he stood up and said, no, I saw her do it. And,
then the teacher, the teacher believed it because the boys told her that you did it. Okay.
Yeah,
so that kind of is a premonition that foreshadows the future for you. That you aren't as good as you say you are, and there's this boy-girl thing going on. Except a boy saved you for some reason, but luckily somebody did, and they believed you, and you got the full credit. And then the rest of the year, the kids said, draw for me, or you were
Yeah,
you were
so
found out
everybody
to be
wanted
a
me to
great-
draw
okay.
for them.
Okay, so that was in Argentina, and you were quite young at that time. But even though back then it was pretty clear that you were good at art, your heart was in another kind of art, which was piano. But then as time went on, what happened? Why aren't you a concert pianist? Why aren't you at Carnegie Hall now? What happened?
I really wanted to be a concert pianist, and I studied for about 8 years, and I did give a few concerts and everything. But then it was time to start college, and my
You did
parents
a few concerts and everything. Yeah, it was like a few concerts here and there. You know, don't we all do that? All right. So, but anyway, so it was time to start college, and you wanted to go on and study.
Yeah, I really wanted to study piano and go full force.
And your physicist father and your education. Your mother has a PhD in education.
Yeah, master's.
Okay, all right, master's in education. Your father's a PhD and obviously quite talented. He's been traveled around the world with it.
Yeah,
they
so
both
he was
say
doing
to you,
really well, and so they both said, well, there's not really a future in any artistic pursuit, they thought.
Oh, of course.
Well, I guess in Argentina at that time there really wasn't. So
okay.
They said, well, why don't you do something else? Maybe go into physics. Since you like math, you like astronomy, chemistry, biology. Well,
You're
you
quite a well-rounded
kinda
child, because you told me you liked many things, including the antiquities and.
Yes, I would read archaeology books all the time.
And you would read
kind of weird
biology books.
Yes, biology books.
And embarrass your parents by asking specifics about I don't understand how this works. How does
Yeah.
So very bright child. Obviously a bright woman as well, but you were a bright, talented, you're welcome, bright, talented child, and your parents decided to focus you on what they thought would be best for you. Forget the arts, piano, or even, God forsake, the visual arts, but go into physics, because clearly your dad did a good job with that, and then there's a career path there.
Yeah, they wanted me to be independent
Okay.
and make my own living, and they said, well, you can still do the art on the side.
Okay.
Or play the piano on the side.
Yeah, it's a hobby, not a career.
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't.
All right, so that's that's all right, but it broke your heart.
Yes, I would come crying every day from school, begging them to stop. But then I noticed that most of the girls in the class were starting to drop like flies, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And I decided, well, I can't stop now.
I've got to show them that girls can do this.
That girls can do this, because everybody was starting to say, well, that's because girls can't do physics or math and all that stuff.
Well, you got a lot of, now you had a lot of negative, from people that should have been mentors to you in college. They gave you a lot of negative feedback, which is, you're a girl, you can't take this class, you're not going to do well.
Yes.
And so you said, yes, I can.
But that happened more here. It wasn't so much in
okay.
Argentina.
That was you did your bachelor's degree in Argentina. Well, I know you didn't actually get it because of circumstances, but you did all your coursework for your bachelor's. You came here, you went to San Jose State to get your master's, and you got even worse.
Yeah, in the first class I ever took
here.
there, the professor started going through the list, and anybody that he thought that wouldn't make it in the class.
Just by your name, and by looking at you.
And by looking at you.
First day.
Yeah, because he didn't know anything about me, and
of course not.
And I was one of the ones he picked on. So
okay.
He said, you shouldn't be here.
Okay.
And so the next class, half the class was gone, and including the other woman, and so it was 30 men and me. So that was a rude awakening. Right?
That's very distressing. So we've heard these stories. It's terrible, and you. I'm going to have to. My floor director just telling me we have to move along a little bit, but I didn't want to discount this, because this is a horrible thing to happen to a young woman who's trying to make it in the world and find their own voice and find their own way. And here you are, already you're doing something you didn't really want to do. It's not the heart of your heart. Although you're good at it. And clearly you went on, you got your PhD in physics, and you had the same sort of discrimination for not only for being a female, but also
a Hispanic.
And Santa Cruz, nonetheless. My God, they're supposed to be like the most liberal of liberals. So you got
told, Hispanics are lazy. Women can't do it because of biology. Like
amazing,
that kind of thing.
Amazing.
So I just try to shrug it off.
And you finished your PhD in record time. Even had a baby during that time.
I had a baby after.
So you're like
my second year.
you're like the shock wave of right in the front of this has to change, and you help change the culture. And
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because then I went back to San Jose State and teaching.
Okay.
And I asked the students there, the women students, and they all said, "Oh no, we don't have any problems." And
no.
So
yeah.
So I'd like to think that I had a little bit
very good
to do with that.
All right, that's
hopefully.
very good. I want to shake your hand, but it's wonderful. So what I do now is what happened was I'm just going to tell our studio audience that what happened with Mariana is that she did finish her graduate degree. She worked for a while. She got laid off because of the boom and bust and all that everybody else experienced, and she was finally.
I was ecstatic when I got
liberated. She could go back to her original love.
I wasn't allowed to quit, so I finally was able to do my art, and I went full force. I was painting every day. I was just really happy.
Your art. I want to talk about your art. Your art. You combine your love of antiquities.
Yes.
With your love of art, of mathematics, and you have some fractal patterns, and let's take a look at a few of them. We've actually just have about a minute of looking at your art.
Okay.
So we've been looking at your art behind you for the whole time, but we have some roll-ins here. Now here's the melting pot.
Yes, the melting pot is one in particular that I'm proud of, because in today's society, immigration is almost a bad word, and I want to show how the United States is really a melting pot of people coming from all over the world.
That's what happened with you, and is with our next guest as well. She came from another country as well. So now all of your pieces, they're mosaics. They're mosaic paintings. Now what I believe, after talking to you at great length and knowing you for quite a while, we've got another piece here, Opposites Attract.
Yes, I like working on dualities a lot, and how it's sort of the yin and yang.
So the dualities from what you have, we have, if we could come back to Mariana, we've got your art, I think, is an escape from your feelings of chaos and the anger that's generated from what's happened to you because your true love was denied for so long. And you get to express yourself, and that's what you've got. You've got fractionated pieces. Because painting, those are usually long brush strokes, and you've got little bitty brush strokes. It's beautiful.
I never thought about it that way.
It's very unusual because you're painting mosaics. And our next artist, we're going to thank you very much, Mariana.
You're welcome.
And our next artist is Xuan Ho, and she does mosaics with actual mosaic pieces. And they are ceramics and glass and whatever else she can find. And she also comes from another country. She comes from Vietnam. And she was a refugee, and she escaped when many of the people escaped in 1979 as what we call the boat people. She had one relative that had come earlier in 75 when the war first ended, along with her childhood sweetheart who also left in 75, and she was in college then, and she waited, and some of her other family then left. Will you tell us that story, please, about what happened in 1979?
When Vietnam War was ended in 1975, it became a communist country. Since there are 100,000 people tried to escape Vietnam to fight freedom, and I was one of them boat people. I escaped Vietnam from boat. The trip was not very bad compared to others, but it's not smooth either.
But you had bullets shooting at you. You escaped being shot in the back because you had a big bag of oranges behind you.
That's correct. When we just escaped for a half hour on the river, suddenly a series of shots shooting my boat, and the last bullet went through the boat and just right behind my back. And fortunately, it hit the orange bags, and it changed the direction, so it saved my life.
Wow.
And so
good oranges.
Yes, and then I came to, so the trip was 4 nights and 5 days, and finally we was saved by the Malaysia Coast Guards, and we stayed in the...
Back into Vietnam.
That's correct.
Which would have been really, really bad. But instead somebody evidently bribed them, and they then took you to Malaysia.
That's correct.
So you were able to, luckily for you, you got to be landed there for a while, but then you stayed in a concentration camp?
Or a refugee
camp. Sorry,
yeah,
refugee
it is
camp.
an isolated island in Malaysia. And we stayed there, and my sisters who came earlier in 1975 found a church in Little Rock, and they sponsored my family.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
Over.
Okay,
yes.
we all know Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 6 months after I came to United States, I got married with my childhood sweetheart, and I came to San Francisco.
Because he found you through your sister in Little Rock.
Yes.
Okay, so you
yes.
come to San Francisco, you get reunited with your childhood sweetheart, so your fractionated, broken life is starting to come back together again.
Yes.
And you, instead of going back to medical school because you couldn't get your records transferred here, obviously.
Yes.
You'd had to start all over again, so you took the quickest route
Yeah.
and got a degree in
computer science.
Computer science, because
Yeah.
you're here in Silicon Valley, worked out pretty well for a career. But you're very focused on just that. And your husband, what does he do? He's
an architect.
He's an architect.
And he always tried to encourage me to know more about art. So 10 years, 1997, we went to Europe trip, and we visited Barcelona, which we saw the Mosaic building and the Sagrada Familia Cathedral, which is the Church of Holy Family.
Church of what?
The Church of Holy
Holy
Family.
Okay. Church of Holy Family. Okay.
Holy Family.
Sorry.
And I was amazed, and I just suddenly fall in love about the amazing Antonio Gaudi, who can...
Antonio Gaudi.
Yeah.
All right, he's a famous, incredible artist who does mosaics.
Yeah, and
in this church.
things, yeah.
And other things too, but the mosaics really struck your heart.
That's correct. And when I returned to United States, I found the mosaic class in CSM community of San Mateo College.
CSM?
Community San Mateo College.
San Mateo College, okay.
Yeah, and I took the class just only 2 days, and suddenly I found that was my passion. And then I started to work a lot of mosaic. And then 2 years later, my neighbor said that, Xuan, you live in Woodside, and Woodside have a King's Mountain offer every year. And they have, you are entitled to join to the art fair without being jury.
So you go to the art fair at this Kings Mountain Art Fair, okay,
Yes.
and people find your art, and now all of a sudden you're locally a hero, famous artist. Now, speaking of very famous people and a famous artist, we had a very famous musician artist that purchased one of your pieces.
Yeah.
And I think we've got over in the control booth, could you bring up the
Four-season table set.
Four-season table set. If you can find that in the there we go. Okay, now it's up on the screen right now. Now this is a table set that you can look at if you want. It's the Four Seasons by Neil Young.
Neil Young,
bought
and then each chair has a season: winter, fall, summer, and spring. And also the design on the table center is the same theme. And I was so shocked and so happy, extremely happy moment when he came to buy this set, and on my first art show in the art fair.
Wow, he knows good work when he sees it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you have a piece behind you as well. I don't know if the camera can get to it or not, but it's right behind you. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, this piece I call Come to Me. It came from about 2 years ago. I went to the Society of American Artists Mosaic. It is a Mosaic conference in Chicago. And I was so inspired with the over 100 pieces of mosaic, and I said that I have a lot of dreams. I want my artwork to be be popular. So I thought about myself with all my dream behind my back, and I make the clay bird, and I stand in the rain and dreaming that if I call, come to me, the bird come to me, it means that my dream, my wish will come true someday.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful. Now, one of the things you said to me when we were talking prior to the show was that you said broken things put together in a different way, and you like how broken things are put together in a different way and made beautiful again. I imagine meant again, and it parallels what happened to your life, which I intimated earlier. So your life was all broken up, and then it was put back together again and made beautiful again in a different way.
Yeah.
Different education, different home. Get your sweetheart back together again with you, and then you have a different life. But it's a fine life.
Yeah.
And we're happy that you're here, and I'm so glad that you're in Sola with us as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the mosaic, they are different materials.
Tell us about the materials. Now, you told us before, you've given talks in Sola that you take ceramics you buy. You used to go to Goodwill and get them, but then you decided that...
I went to Ross department to buy the whole set of dinner sets.
Whole dinner sets.
Whole dinner set.
And then you just smash it on the ground? And
actually...
You're a professional dinner plate breaker? Is
yeah,
that right?
I call myself professional dish breaker.
There you go. Professional dish breaker, not professional
because
dishwasher.
I have to have the whole dinner set in order to have the pattern. My specific love is I like the pre-designed pattern of ties.
Ah, here we go. We've got one up on the screen now. It's called the
and
table
that is
vortex.
that is the table vortex. That is I create that for my living room, and that is my first furniture that I made for myself. And since then because I love to do ties, so one of the clients want to have their leftover tiles, the ties, to make the mosaic fireplace.
Okay, so they have tiles left over from whatever they're doing in their bathroom or their kitchen or something.
It is a beautiful home in in Stanford campus.
Okay.
And
you've got the fireplace right here. So your fireplace is up on the screen right now, Journey of Life.
Yeah, and because I like the flow and to make the flow go through smoothly, and I use the leftover ties and also order some ties that I use the icon to represent for the main characters.
The icon? What?
The icon of the circle.
Oh, okay.
So there is a story of this journey of life to tell the story of the characters was born and created, started with the life on the left panel, and then that is the first 20 years of life, and then he go through the main entrance of the main face of the fireplace, and the flowers, the colors represent to their personality and the color and those special events, and then they have a circle family, and they have a triangle represent for the friends or the friends or the relationships. Yeah. Okay. And then the last panel is I call the golden years, when the person is at the top level of his life is at the retirement.
Okay.
And
this is all that one fireplace you're talking about. Just one fireplace.
The journey of life starts from the left to the end at the end.
That's already off the screen, but do you do that oftentimes, where you tell a story that complex within a single mosaic painting or art piece that you do? There's a very complex story that you just told me. Do you often do that with your...
Oh, each piece of my work...
there's a piece up again, the fireplace again. So
each piece of my work has the theme of it.
The theme of the journey of life. All right. So you always talk about the complexities of going through life. Okay.
No, actually, that's a story of the main characters throughout the life, and
yeah. Did you see the main character?
Yeah, I use the icon of the circle as the main character to tell the story of the whole thing. So the way I put
you've got circles in every single piece, and that represents life to you. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I use well, because there is no close-up to see detail of the things, but the whole theme that has the journal of life of the characters to go through.
But that was just that one piece I was asking you about in general. So do you always talk about the journey of life in your pieces?
No. No.
Okay.
Each one has its own theme and topic depending on the material that I like.
So we have a lion head and water fountain showing right now as well. So now that one obviously is a different theme, because that's not a journey of life, that's a lion head. Now that's a very classical piece, right? I mean, that design.
That's
which is kind of herald back to what Mariana was talking about, looking at classical mosaic pieces. And so you took your inspiration for that piece from
from
Italy, or?
Yeah, from reading different material, different books, and I just inspire them. And I like to do not only I like to do functional artwork, like a fountain, birth bath, the table set, all kind of things, and then and also the wall hangings. So my style is just vary in different ways, and I like to do the different materials in order to enhance the the texture of the piece itself. And lately, I like to do the three-dimensional wall hanging, which is different thickness.
Three-dimensional wall hanging?
Yeah, it implies that instead of using the same thickness of the material, it makes the pictures sort of very smooth. But this I do the different level
like the one
of the
behind you.
material.
See,
Like,
there's a lot of texture behind
that's
you.
right.
Okay.
So I just enhance the picture.
One of the things I liked about your artwork, now I'll have to tell the audience here that these two women came to me in the club independently of one another to be on the show for July. Now here they both do mosaics. One paints the mosaic and one uses the, here's your swan. Okay, we wanted to talk about your swan before we continue with this. There's a swan in the lower right-hand corner of this particular image, and that is, you put that little swan in every single piece of your artwork because your name is spelled Xuan,
but pronounced like a swan.
Swan.
And my husband has the idea that, you know, he designed the
Oh, don't
icon.
give it to him. That's yours. Come on, you're the artist. You did it yourself. Come on. You're too kind. You're too kind.
No, he's very kind. He has a great idea
That's
that
true. He's an architect.
he designed the icon of the swan, and then he did make the mold of it. And then we make the swan icon from our tiny kiln is 0% from my signature as a swan
mosaic. So you
mosaic.
put in every single piece?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was going to talk about earlier before the director evidently decided that we had to put the swan in, which I apologize. I did say I was going to put the swan up first. So we just got carried away with the boat story and the internet and all this other stuff. So anyway, but I did want to combine the two stories here of both of you, and that you had different reasons for coming to America, very different, but you also then use your art to find your heart of what you're enjoying life more fully. You're both very technical, and as in many people, especially around the Silicon Valley, we have a lot of very artistic, technical people that come here. I meet them over and over again. And you two were able to find it in your time and your heart to express yourself fully with some very complicated pieces of art. And here you two show up on the same day for this talk, for this show, from Sola, with your mosaic pieces, with your swirly, even the two pieces that you brought in tonight, we've got very similar motifs with the swirls.
Well, I do believe in synchronicity a lot, so I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
I'm just delighted that the two of you are together. And as we talked about this prior to the show, just very, very recently, we discovered this together, that this was what was going on. So. So is there anything else you want to tell me about your pieces?
Yeah, I have pieces that in different books.
Oh, that's right. You've got books.
Yeah, 2 of them in the Mosaic books, and 3 of them are in the American Art Collectors as artists, featured artists.
Featured artists in American Art Collectors, and this is the magazine, a journal?
No, this is the book that is we end.
Yeah, no, keep going now.
Yeah, this is the one that they send to galleries in the country, and they don't sell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, normally I get to say goodbye, but for some reason I didn't. I knew it was 2 minutes, but it just got away from me. I'm going to say thank you for. But some of this talk shows.